Welcome to Dr. Linux Presents a tour of Manjaro XFCE 23.1. When you go to download Manjaro, one of the nice things is that it comes in so many different flavors. You can get all sorts of different shells, including GNOME, KDE, XFCE. There are also a series of other window managers that you can download here and install them directly from an ISO. You can get this from the Manjaro team site. When you go to install it, the first thing that you're going to see is to choose proprietary drivers. This is why I think Manjaro is a good choice for beginning Linux users, because from the get-go, it asks you if you want to install drivers like for your NVIDIA graphics card or your AMD graphics card, and it'll go out and get those for you and install them. So it's really hassle-free for extra drivers. Once you boot up into the ISO, you're going to see that you have an option from installation from the welcome screen. Go ahead and double-click the icon, and installation begins. Next, you're going to walk your step-by-step through keyboard, location, and since this is a virtual disk, we are going to erase the entire disk, and we're going to install to that new blank disk we've created in a virtual machine. If you're doing this on a hard drive, that may not be the case. Choose your username and a password. And in this case, I'm going to use the same one for my system administrator. So you can click on the second box and it gets rid of that option. And Manjaro gives you the choice of choosing between LibreOffice and FreeOffice. Both are complete Office suites. I'm familiar with Libre. I chose that one. And we're going to go ahead and install. And you'll see this Launchpad video. Now, I'm going to speed this up. It does take about 10 minutes to install, but you're going to see that we're going to zip right through this. Once you've finished installation, it's going to ask you to restart. And the computer is going to come back to a login screen where you enter your password. And you'll see that we're going to do a grand tour once we're launched. Since it's a virtual machine, it's a little bit slower, but XFCE is really quite fast and lightweight. Across the bottom on the right, you're going to see a series of icons that are present to give you things like updates, your power on, power off, volume control. But the one thing that's interesting about Manjaro, when you go to the first welcome screen, it does group all of your applications by type. Now, this is not really their software store, but if you notice the little check boxes to the far right, these are the ones it has installed by default, but other programs that if you click on those check boxes, you can go ahead and install them. And it groups them by each type of program they are. Manjaro uses Pacman for its installation software, and this is all just from the welcome screen here where you can get involved with Manjaro or the community. On XFCE, you have a simplified menu, which has your favorites on the left at the top here. We're going to open up the terminal, and we're going to take a look at NeoFetch. You can see that NeoFetch here is demonstrating Manjaro with a kernel of 6.6, and that it is using XFCE as its windowing system, the various icons that are present. It gives you a little bit of insight into what's going on underneath the hood. If we go back and we go to the All Applications option, it shows you every single thing that's installed. We're going to do an about here. This is very similar to what we just saw in NeoFetch. You're going to see that Manjaro is a rolling release. What that means is it is constantly updating with new software. Now, over at the Linux Experiment, one of the issues that they have there is that they feel that the rolling releases are not really in tune with the repositories that are present. I have not felt that. I've used Manjaro as a daily driver. Admittedly, it was with the GNOME interface, and I liked it a lot. It is constantly rolling over Arch Linux, which is running underneath the hood here. I thought it was a very good and solid system. If we go into the settings menu, you can see the various things that you can configure here from the simple XFCE menu. It's very, very simple the way it's grouped and organized. This will show you that you can change the system power settings, the display settings, the devices. You can work through all the different things that are present on the computer, customizing it to make it look the way that you want. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is the plain vanilla installation with their color scheme, but you can change this to make it look any way that you want. I've used XFCE to rehab older computers. I took a friend's computer that was vintage 2010 and made it look like a Mac. From all the customization with XFCE, and the thing ran like a champ because this is such a lightweight operating system. And here we're going into the software store. This is different than the opening screen. We can check for updates to the system. This one's up to date. You can search for various software programs that you want to install. It has a huge repository, and you can get a lot of different things. All software is free and open source, which is one of the benefits of using Linux. Going back into the menu here to see what other availability things we have. If we go into the settings manager, this is where you can customize themes, customize the way your mouse works, customize the way your entire computer system works. For example, here is an appearance, and these are the different color schemes that are currently installed, all the different icons that are installed. So you can change the way that the entire system looks with single clicks. And you'll notice, even though this is going through a virtual machine, these windows are snapping open with XFCE. It is really moving quite quickly. I chose to show XFCE because in some of my other examples, I was using GNOME or KDE, and I felt that at least one operating system that I demonstrate should have the lightweight XFCE interface present on it to show how you could use this possibly on an older computer and get it running quite swiftly. The last thing that we're going to look at here is that we're going to look down through these settings, and we're going to find the hardware manager. The only reason I'm pointing this out, when we first installed this, I made a point of saying that it does install your custom video drivers from the get-go if you select third-party drivers. And one of the things that you can look at or review from inside the settings are where those drivers are located and how you can get them installed. These will be under the Manjaro Manager settings. I'm just walking through where it's showing you your different default applications that you can set up. For example, if you want Firefox as your web browser. And here we go into the settings, and this is where you can see things like the kernel you're using. Now remember, this booted into kernel 6.6, and that is the recommended. You see here long-term support recommended, and it's running. You could update to 6.8, which as of the making of this video is the most current. However, the recommended for this is still 6.6. And here in hardware configuration is where we're going to see, now this is a virtual box, so you're not going to see an NVIDIA driver, but if you had a regular hard drive and NVIDIA card, that's where you would see that Manjaro would have installed those drivers. The customization you can do with those settings is extensive. Once again, I just want to go back to NeoFetch real quick here. And what I wanted to show was at the bottom, now I created a virtual machine with 4 gigabytes of RAM. You can see that XFCE is only using 746 megabytes. Now, I don't have any enhancements running in the background or anything. That's just straight up XFCE, but it's very lean. And you can see even when we pop open the home folder, it just snaps. And this is running at normal speed. I do not have this increased in speed for demonstration purposes. This is the regular speed that this computer would be running. If this was on a hard drive with regular hardware, it would be even faster. So if we walk down through these menus, you can see the different accessories that are present. It divides it into education, graphics. It automatically installs GIMP for you. Internet, it's going to have Firefox and Thunderbird as your web browser and mail reader. Multimedia, a series of different players are present. Office, it installed LibreOffice, including LibreBase. Some systems don't always install the database option. Settings we've already been into, and you can see it's extensive, the things that you can change, and system we looked at a little bit as well. You also can access the settings manager from the top of the menu here that takes us right back to where we were. And to shut down the system, you just click in the lower right-hand corner and select Shut Down. If this was helpful, please give me a thumbs up and a subscribe. Thanks.